How many times have you wanted to join a conversation in English, but the words just got stuck in your throat? That invisible fear that makes you sweat, stutter, and often give up before you even try. You're not alone. Millions of people feel exactly the same way. But here's the paradox. The thing you fear most, public speaking, is precisely what you need most to improve your language skills. And even if your mind screams, you're going to make mistakes, the truth is that every mistake is an opportunity in disguise. Fear doesn't disappear overnight, but it can be transformed into energy to move forward. And before we move on to the tips that will change the way you approach English, let me tell you something quick and fun. If you've ever thought, I wish someone could give me a reliable English-speaking manual, this channel is the closest thing to that. So subscribe and hit the bell. I promise there won't be any boring lessons here. Step 1. Recognize that fear is normal and universal. The first step to overcoming the fear of speaking English in public is to accept that it exists and that there's nothing wrong with it. Many people believe that feeling anxious means they're unprepared or that they'll never succeed. But the truth is quite the opposite. Fear is a sign that you're stepping out of your comfort zone, and this is essential for growth. When you understand that even experienced speakers, actors, and teachers feel nervous before speaking, everything changes perspective. Fear isn't unique to you. It's part of the human experience. What differentiates those who succeed is how they deal with this feeling. A powerful strategy is to view fear as a warning rather than an enemy. Instead of focusing on the symptoms, a powerful shift is to view each conversation as an exchange, not a test. This removes the need to always get it right and opens up space for experimentation, risking new expressions, and even laughing at one's own mistakes. This lightheartedness not only reduces anxiety, but also accelerates learning, because the brain learns much more when it's having fun than when it feels pressured. A practical technique is to remind yourself before every English situation, it's not a test, it's just a conversation. Repeating this simple phrase can help reset your mental posture and reduce tension. It's like a change of scenery. Instead of being in front of a panel of examiners, you're simply exchanging ideas with someone who likely also has their own insecurities. And by viewing English this way, you not only break down the psychological barrier, but also gain space to apply a strategic resource that we'll see in the next point: learning emergency phrases that can save any conversation. Step 3. Learn emergency phrases to gain confidence. One of the biggest sources of insecurity when speaking English is the fear of getting stuck mid-sentence and not knowing how to continue. This type of blockage generates anxiety and reinforces feelings of inadequacy. But there's a simple and extremely practical solution. Having a set of short phrases, known as emergency phrases, up your sleeve. These phrases work like linguistic crutches. When you can't remember a word or need time to think, you can resort to expressions like, "Let me think for a second," "How can I say this?" or even, "Can you repeat, please?" Simple, direct, and effective. The power of these phrases lies in two ways. First, they prevent the awkward silence that can increase nervousness. Second, they show the other person that you're engaged in the conversation, even if it takes a few extra seconds to gather your thoughts. This builds respect and understanding rather than judgment. Plus, the more you use these phrases, the more natural it becomes to keep communication flowing, even when you forget a word. And it's precisely this feeling of fluidity that boosts self-confidence, not because you spoke perfectly, but because you were able to continue the conversation without getting bogged down. Mastering a few key phrases is like carrying a linguistic first aid kit. And with this kit, you'll feel prepared for the next step, starting to train your mind to think directly in English without translating every word. The thinking in English technique solves exactly this problem. It doesn't mean you need to construct complex sentences in your mind from day one, but rather train your brain to associate ideas directly with English. For example, when you see a bottle, instead of thinking bottle to bottle, train yourself to automatically think bottle. A practical way to apply this is to choose everyday situations and narrate in English what you're doing. Something simple like, I'm drinking water, or I'm going to the kitchen. This self-talk exercise is powerful because it doesn't depend on anyone else and conditions your mind to think without translation. Another effective way to do this is to replace unfamiliar words with English descriptions. If you can't remember umbrella, you can say, the thing you use when it rains. This keeps communication flowing even without perfect vocabulary, and gradually expands your ability to improvise. When you train your brain to think in English, you eliminate one of the biggest triggers of anxiety, the fear of not finding the right words. And with this new habit, you'll be prepared for an even more powerful challenge. Start practicing in small, safe environments before exposing yourself to larger audiences. Step 5. Start with small, safe groups. Speaking English in front of a large group of people can be intimidating at first. It's like learning to swim by trying to cross the ocean on your first try. The smartest path is to start small, in controlled and safe environments, so you can build confidence before facing larger audiences. A good strategy is to practice with close friends, study partners, or even in online communities where everyone is on the same learning journey. This environment reduces pressure because mistakes are seen as a natural part of the journey, not as failures. There, each attempt is celebrated as a step forward. Another powerful resource is participating in conversation sessions with small groups. In these contexts, the dynamic is more relaxed, which helps you relax without feeling like you're being evaluated. Repeating these experiences gradually builds a solid foundation of self-confidence. Over time, you'll notice that your fear diminishes, not because it's completely gone, but because your brain has already experienced numerous situations in which it successfully communicated. This feeling of, I've been there before, is a powerful antidote to anxiety. And when that trust begins to blossom in small groups, you'll have the strength to apply a technique that can completely change your experience, using your breath as an ally to control your nerves. That's the next step. Step 6. Master your breathing to control your nerves. When it's time to speak English in public, your body often reacts before you even open your mouth. Your heart races, your hands sweat, and your voice trembles. These physical signals are natural responses to anxiety, but they can become a powerful enemy if you don't know how to control them. The key to this is breathing. Breathing consciously is like pressing a reset button on your body. Simple techniques such as inhaling deeply through your nose for 4 seconds, holding it for another 4, and exhaling slowly through your mouth help send a message to your brain. Everything is under control. Within moments, tension begins to subside. Another effective technique is called box breathing, used even by athletes and professionals in high-pressure situations. The method is simple. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, and hold again for a count of 4. This cycle reduces anxiety and brings focus to the present. The impact of breathing extends beyond the body. When you control your nerves, mental clarity increases, making it easier to choose words in English and avoiding sudden blanks. It's like cleaning a foggy window. The scenery remains the same, but you see everything more clearly. And when your mind is calmer, it becomes much easier to apply other resources that can transform your communication. The next one is surprisingly simple and powerful: practicing with mirrors and voice recordings to gain confidence. Step 7. Practice with mirrors and voice recordings. One of the quickest ways to gain confidence speaking English in public is to get used to your own voice and appearance while communicating. It seems simple, but many people avoid this type of practice precisely because they feel uncomfortable seeing themselves speaking another language. This is where the opportunity for improvement lies. Speaking in front of a mirror helps you practice not only your pronunciation, but also your posture and body language. You begin to notice whether you're conveying confidence or insecurity, adjusting details that will make a difference when you're in front of others. It's a realistic rehearsal that prepares your mind and body simultaneously. Voice recordings, on the other hand, act as an X-ray of your progress. By listening to your own speech, you can identify strengths, such as words that already flow naturally, and areas that still need adjustment. This insight is valuable because it turns mistakes into concrete data for improvement, rather than fueling negative self-criticism. The most interesting thing is that the more you get used to hearing yourself speak in English, the less awkward it becomes to speak English in real-life situations. That initial feeling of awkwardness dissipates, and you don't have to be a comedian to use this strategy. Small gestures, like laughing at yourself when you make a mistake or joking about the situation, can create a more friendly atmosphere. Instead of thinking, "That was a disaster," you can laugh and say something like, "Well, that didn't sound right." This lightheartedness shows that you're comfortable with yourself, and that inspires respect and empathy in your listeners. Humor also helps create connection. People who laugh together establish an immediate bond, and this connection makes your message more memorable. Even if your English isn't perfect, your audience will remember how you made them feel relaxed and engaged. Furthermore, by laughing at your own mistakes, you send a powerful message to your brain. Mistakes are part of life and not the end of the world. This mindset shift reduces self-doubt and turns every attempt into a learning opportunity. And when you can laugh at your mistakes, the next step becomes even more natural, using repetition of keywords and phrases to feel fluid without having to memorize entire speeches. Step 9. Repeat keywords and phrases to feel fluid. Many people believe that speaking English well means mastering thousands of different words. But the truth is that fluency doesn't come from vocabulary quantity, but rather from familiarity with the expressions you use most in everyday life. Therefore, repeating keywords and phrases is one of the smartest ways to gain confidence. When you repeatedly practice a few useful expressions like, "I think," "in my opinion," or "that's a good point," these phrases start to come automatically, effortlessly. This gives you a sense of fluency, even if the rest of your vocabulary is still developing. This repetition creates shortcuts in the brain. Instead of wasting energy thinking about how to start a sentence,